following presentation contains coarse language and may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
They pay me the big bucks to read the introduction. Dr. Ken Berry is a board-certified family physician known for his advocacy of low-carb ketogenic diets and his insights into metabolic health. He uses his expertise to educate and inspire others toward healthier lifestyles through books, online content, and public speaking engagements. His commitment to improving health is reflected in his practical, evidence-based approach and passion for empowering individuals to take control of their well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Dr. Ken Berry.
Seems like just last year we did this. How many people, this is your first year here? Nice. So if you go onto this website called Google Trends, you know what that is? You can actually look up what people are searching on Google. Do you know that? Yeah. You can look up keto butt crack and see how many people have searched for that. When you search for keto diet, it is by far the most searched for diet on planet Earth, even years after, like it's been, we've been doing a keto diet for specific things since the 1920s. But yet even today, and the carnivore diet is right on its heels. Right, so keto's here on Google Trends, carnivore's right here, and vegan diet is here, trending down. So you people, this is your first year here, this is it. This is the proper human diet. Very low carb, keto, ketovore, carnivore, that is the proper human diet spectrum. And I'm gonna, for you new people, there's probably a few of you who are a little bit skittish. Maybe somebody talked you into coming. There's always that spouse who's like, fine, whatever, I'll go. How many people in this room used to have type 2 diabetes and now you don't have type 2 diabetes through no help from your doctor? Stand up. I want you to stand up if that's true. You used to have type 2 diabetes. Now think about that for a second. Type 2 diabetes is a chronic progressive medical condition that we don't know what causes it, and there's currently no cure for that. These people reversed. They did the impossible without the help of a doctor. Their doctor said, no, don't do keto. No, carnivore. Oh, hell no, don't do carnivore. No, red meat causes diabetes. Didn't you know? And these people said, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. And they just fixed it. Just regular folks. How many people used to have high blood pressure and take at least one, if not 2 or 3 medications for your high blood pressure? And now you don't have high blood pressure anymore. Raise your hands really high. How do you guys, who used to take 2 medicines, 2 different medicines for your blood? How many took 3 different medicines? Yeah. And now no blood pressure, no high blood pressure. It's gone. How's that possible? How did their doctor not know about this solution? How's that possible? If you go to the American Diabetes Association website, they have hundreds of recipes that were created by registered dietitians. Most of these recipes will spike your blood sugar. And then that leaves the researchers and the dietitians and the endocrinologists, it leaves them in this very uncomfortable, tight spot of having to say, we don't really know what causes type 2 diabetes. It looks like there's an association between red meat and diabetes. There's a big genetic component. We don't understand. Now, did the people that reversed their type 2 diabetes, did they change the structure of their DNA helix? Is that what they did? They were out in the workshop with their tiny little elf hammer, tinkering with their adenine or guanine and cytosine. Is that what? No, of course not. They're stuck in a very uncomfortable bind. Back in 2015, the American Heart Association changed their guidelines. Up until that point, they said you need to eat a low cholesterol diet. You need to eat a diet, you don't need to eat more than 300 milligrams of cholesterol a day in your diet. That's why a lot of you guys used to be, you loved shrimp, but you were afraid to eat it because it was high in cholesterol. They changed the guidelines in 2015. 9 years ago. Have any of you, your doctors, is there a single person in here who your doctor said, you can eat all the cholesterol you want, it's irrelevant? Anybody's doctor? How many years does it take to get from the American Heart Association down to your doctor? Why does it take 9 years? Why is that? Why is it going to take 20 or 25 years for these people who reverse type 2 diabetes? It's going to take 20 or 25 years for the American Diabetes Association to, and they're not going to hold a press conference and tell everybody, oh shit, we got that all messed up. That will not happen that way. They will change their guidelines and they will tell no one. And there might be a couple of press releases in weird, obscure medical journals that nobody reads. And so that'll be about 2035 when they change that, like, oh, the best diet is low-carb ketogenic diet if you have type 2 diabetes. But they won't tell anybody. And then it'll take another 10, 20 years for it to filter down to all the doctors. Why does it have to be that way? Is it about money? Is it? Did you see there's a new headline, a new research article. This guy came out and he looked into research studies. And he said that if a research study is funded by either a pharmaceutical company or a food company, like the pomegranate or the almonds or the whoever, 50% greater chance that it will show a benefit of whatever's being studied if the study's funded by the people who make the thing that's being studied. It's almost like the laws of human nature apply to research as well. If the mechanic will make more money telling you need a new transmission, he's going to tell you that because he's got kids to feed and he wants the money and he don't know you. It seems like it's just an echo of that. But these people have white coats and stethoscopes and they have lots of initials, and therefore we hold them in higher esteem. I'm going to tell you a secret right now, and I want you to never forget it. Are you ready? Doctors are just dudes and chicks. They are not demigods. They are not saints. They may be better students than you, but they are not better humans than you. They are susceptible to bribes. Bribes can either be hard bribes or they can be soft bribes. You know the difference? A hard bribe is here's $100, don't write me a ticket. That's just a blatant hard bribe, right? A soft bribe is kind of like when I'm talking to Beckett and I'm like, well, you can either go to bed or I can whoop your ass. Or I can whoop your ass and then you can go to bed. It's up to you. You get to choose. But that's a loaded choice, isn't it? You see how there's just really one choice. And it's like that's what these people are doing. They're giving you this false choice. There's false choices everywhere. There's the false choice of, well, you either take a statin or you're going to have a heart attack. And they scare the crap out of you about that. But then when we actually go back, people like Dr. David Diamond, and look at the research, it's like, well, if you take a statin every single day for 20 years, it looks like it may add 5 days to your life. Right. All the co-pays, all the side effects for 20 years, here's an extra 5 days of life. But your doctor doesn't put it to you that way, do they? It's like there's a false choice. The other false choice is when you're sitting home and you're drinking Pepsi and eating Cheetos and Lucky Charms and whatever the hell, and you're like, I don't care, whatever. I'm eating the, what is it called? The IC diet. I see it, I eat it, And then you're like, you have a scare, you have chest pain, or your A1C's high, or your blood pressure's high, and you're like, crap, I'm going to have to clean it up, right? I'm going to have to grow up. I'm going to die if I don't. So that would really ruin the day if I had a heart attack. And so you start looking around a little bit, and here's all this plant-based stuff everywhere. Again, do you think could it be about money? Could it be that the billionaires are buying up all the farmland and growing soybeans and peas and wheat and canola, and magically everything plant-based is going to make you healthier? And so just imagine this person who's living on Pepsi and Cheetos and Ding Dongs, and they're like, I got to clean this up, this is dumb, what am I doing here? So they do a little research, and lo and behold, they discover that a plant-based diet is going to make them healthier. So they switch from Pepsi to fresh squeezed non-GMO orange juice. You laugh, right? We all laugh, but do you understand the average person walking the street that you and I haven't happened to yet? If you said, what's healthier for you, a Pepsi Cola or fresh squeezed non-GMO orange juice? They'd be like, oh God, orange juice, no question. Right? Apple juice, grape juice, oh my God, pomegranate juice, that's literally comes down from heaven. They don't know that in many cases the fruit juice is actually higher in fructose than the high fructose corn syrup sweetened Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola. They don't know. It looks like they've made a good choice, but they haven't. It's a false choice. And they stop eating the Doritos and they start eating Sun Chips. Because there's a picture of a farm on the bag and it says whole grain. Is that one damn bit better? No. And then instead of the Ding Dongs and honey buns, they start eating this just delicious dessert that's vegan. It says vegan right on the pack. Fat-free vegan. Only 100 grams per serving. 100 calories per serving. 100 calories. And so they literally have upended their life. They have stood up, they paid attention, they learned some stuff, and they're in the same damn boat they started in. But it's just painted a different color. They're still going to wind up with all the pharmaceuticals. They're still going to wind up with all the suffering and pain and disease. That's the false choice that every time you or I stay silent, that's the false choice that we're letting our friends and neighbors and loved ones make. They're still going right down the same path towards disease. But they've got this false impression that they're doing a good job now. Does that make sense? Or the person who, they've heard about keto, they're like, oh, keto, okay. So I'm going to go keto. And so they go to the supermarket. And they get a big loaf of keto bread. And they get keto pancakes and keto pancake syrup. Keto shakes, keto bars. They get keto everything. Yeah, I think now there's a keto toilet paper. And they get some keto toilet paper. Everything in their house is keto. And they get a little better, but they don't reverse their type 2 diabetes. They've been tricked again. Now, make no mistake, my enemies are big food and big pharma. A distant second is big supplement and big fake health foods, right? They'll buy Cliff bars, and they'll buy, what's the other bar? Nutri-Grain. Oh yeah, Nutri-Grain bars, because you know Fruit Loops are shit, but Nutri-Grain bars, healthy. There's a picture of a barn on the package, right? So everybody's trying to trick you. Everybody's trying to get your money. It's human nature, especially in the United States. We're all trying to get paid. We don't want to just flat out rob people, but if I'm a little smarter than you and you fall for my bullshit, whose fault is that? I don't know. I don't know whose fault that is. Is that a crime? If I'm smarter than you and you fall for my bullshit, is that against the law? If you believe the mechanic and you pay for a new transmission, sign the contract, y'all signed everything, and there you go. Is that a crime? Did you need a transmission? No, you just need some transmission fluid. But you got a new transmission. Maybe you got a new one. Maybe it's a refurb. Who knows? I don't know. I think that the last few years through the pandemic, I think it woke a lot of people up. And even though it was really sucky, and it was really not fun, and it was not anything I'd recommend going through, all your friends and neighbors, almost without exception, if you say, you know, I think they've been lying to us about some stuff. If you said that back in 2015, they'd be like, oh, you got your aluminum hat, tinfoil hat, oh. But after COVID, I think most people would be like, yeah, I think you're right. What are you talking about? Right? And most people, all your friends and family members, it's human nature. If you find out that somebody's been lying to you about one thing, they may be been lying to you about other things too. So the two things I want you to take away from this today, and then I'm going to answer as many questions as I can, is number one, for the vast majority of chronic disease, you do not need a keto-friendly doctor, a carnivore-friendly doctor. You don't need your doctor's permission to eat a certain way. Okay, if you're Jewish, you don't need your doctor's permission to eat kosher. You just do it. Okay, if you're a redneck, you don't need your doctor's permission to eat beans and taters. You just do it. Right? If you're vegan, you don't need your doctor's permission to eat Brussels sprouts. You just do it. You don't need your doctor's permission for your diet. Your doctor is not your daddy. Maybe in a case or two, but usually not. If your doctor's a fertility specialist, it may be your daddy and you don't know. That's happened. That's a thing. That's a thing, and I'm sorry that's a thing, but that's a thing. Again, doctors are just dudes and chicks. They are capable of the worst behavior imaginable and the best behavior imaginable. The only kind of doctor you need is a doctor who is not arrogantly ignorant. That's the worst kind of ignorance. My friend Bubba, who dropped out of Lewis County High School in 8th grade, Tony Roan was his name. I still love him. He was my tackle before every play. I was tied in. We'd line down and he'd say, what am I supposed to do? Block left. Okay. And then if he pissed me off, I'd tell him the wrong thing and he'd get in trouble. He is just ignorant. It's fine. I love him. Still know him to this day. But arrogant ignorance, holier than thou ignorance, that's dangerous. When you're in a position of authority, if you're an attorney and you're like, I know everything about the law. You do this, this, and this, and the advice is wrong, you're in trouble. Right? The problem with doctors giving nutrition advice is that they're really not held to any standard. They get to just pick from a random smorgasbord of what they'll recommend. Typically, it's what they the news story they saw on the news last night. Oh, plant-based. Okay, got it. I'll recommend that to everybody. And I'll not only recommend that to everybody, but I'll recommend that with arrogance. Well, you're a damn fool if you don't eat plant-based. Everybody knows it. Based on what? You don't need your doctor's advice when it comes to your diet. You eat the diet you think is best for you. The one that gives you results, okay? You need your doctor to order a lab. You need your doctor to maybe order a diagnostic test. You don't need a keto or carnivore doctor. That's number one. Number two, people are ready. The society all over the world is ripe for the picking of saying, you know, they lied to us about a lot of that COVID shit, right? Flat out, provably lied. Amen. Flat out, provably. And most of your friends and neighbors will be like, yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're probably right. Do you see what an opportunity that is to say, guess what? That's not the only thing. They're also lying to you about this plant-based bullshit. Okay? A plant-based diet is great if you're starving to death. If you're trying not to starve, eat all the plants, eat all the wheat, all rice, corn, yes. Drink the canola oil out of the bottle if you're trying not to starve to death. But if what you're trying to do is reverse chronic disease, lose excess fat, feel better, get rid of brain fog and mental health issues, you better eat a proper human diet. And if your doctor says, oh, you shouldn't do that, you smile and nod and say, yes, doctor, thank you for that. And then you do whatever the hell you think you need to do for your own personal health. But now's the time for you guys to reach out and say, look, they've obviously lied to us about some stuff. They're lying about this too. You guys heard about the new court ruling in the Northern District of California. For years, fluoride, oh, fluoride's good for you. Fluoride, oh my God, fluoride. Give your baby fluoride. If you're pregnant with a baby inside you, drink fluoride. It'll somehow magically make the baby's teeth stronger. This is total horse shit. Okay? Fluoride used topically in specific situations, it's probably a good thing. But to put fluoride in the drinking water is just ignorance. And a recent ruling in a district court, the judge was actually for the first time ever allowed to hear all evidence from both sides. And the language he used is so strong that the Environmental Protection Agency is now forced to open a case and look at fluoride in the water supply with fresh eyes. He said it is an unacceptable hazard to the public, or words to that effect. Very strong language. Never anything like this has happened before. They've lied to us about a lot of stuff. And I don't even think some of it is nefarious. I don't think they're trying to kill us. I don't think there's a conspiracy. It's just human nature, because refer back to what I said earlier. Doctors are just dudes and chicks. They're just dudes and chicks. They're just doing what every other human on the planet does. If somebody they respect says something, they're probably going to repeat it. Just like some of you guys, you cook specific dishes just exactly the way you cooked it because that's how your mama taught you to cook it. Is that the best way? Maybe. Is it the only way? No. But how are you going to cook it? You're going to cook it the way mama taught you to cook it because that's your mama. That's how doctors look at the doctors who train them. That was Dr. So-and-so. Oh my God, he said this. Boom, that's it. Just dudes and chicks. If they got the COVID shit wrong and they got the fluoride shit wrong, what else did they get wrong? It doesn't mean there's a conspiracy. It doesn't mean that. It just means people are people and people do dumb shit. Especially they're going to do some dumb shit if they can get paid to do it. And also get the accolades and get the long white coat and get to wear that stethoscope and to get all that stuff. They're going to do it. You don't need a doctor to teach you about diets. You're here. You know. Who's somebody that reversed their type 2 diabetes? Who taught you about this way of eating? Oh, okay. But who said, there's this crazy redneck doctor on YouTube you ought to watch? Who was that? Okay, so just an internet search. What about you? What's your friend do at work? What's he do? An electrician taught him how to reverse his type 2 diabetes. This is the last time I want to hear from any one of you, well, I'm just fill in the blank. Shut your mouth. Help your friends and family. You know how to do it. Do it. Please. Have you seen the rates of obesity and type 2 diabetes and fatty liver and hypertension? Wait, I'm not talking about in adults. I'm talking about in little innocent children whose pediatrician is saying, yeah, give them 3 Ensure a day and at least 2 or 3 glasses of orange juice and good whole grain cereal, not that half-assed grain shit. Give them the whole grain cereal because that's magic. Skim milk, of course, you don't want too much saturated fat because they still believe that bullshit back from 2015, right? No red meat, no. Give them some skinless chicken. You know, what? Who's going to save those kids? Is that he the only one? It's up to us, folks. We talked earlier. It's going to be 20 years. 20 years. We're going to wait. Kids are going to develop diabetes. People in their 20s will be on dialysis. People in their 30s will have their first amputation. People in their 40s will have their first heart attack. Because it takes the people at the top 20 years. It's so egregious, it's so despicable and embarrassing that me and a group of low-carb MDs and PhDs got together and we created the American Diabetes Society. For the first few years on YouTube and on Twitter and other social media, you guys have seen me yelling at the American Diabetes Association, saying, what the hell is wrong with you? Inviting Dr. Bob Githey, their medical spokesman, like, come on my channel, let's talk about this, please. Let's talk about this. There are people dying. Young people. Before the clinic fire, I had a young man who I'd been his doctor since he was probably 3 years old. He had type 1 diabetes. And he was about 22. And he came to me and he said, Doc, I got problems. And this poor guy, he's a teenage boy. He would come in, his A1C would be 11.2. I'd be like, dude, I'm telling you, you're not going to be an old man when this shit starts hitting you. You're going to still be young and with life to live. He came in when he was 22 years old. And he said, Doc, I think it's happening. I'm having some ED. He was engaged. And he's like, I can't, it just doesn't happen. 22 years old. Engaged. About to start a family. That's happening right now all over America, all over the world. That shit is happening. And that's why we said, well, are we going to just sit back as professionals and wait 20 years? And just let all those people suffer and die, and then maybe the next generation we can help them? No. So we started that, and a good friend of mine who I've seen here several years in the past, he slipped something in my pocket yesterday while I was in here. We got back to the room, I pulled it out, it was a $1,000 check to the American Diabetes Society. Which will be put in the bank immediately. He asked me not to say his name. But a lot of you guys know him. And he said, this is the best I can do, but I know you're going to do the best you can do. And now I'm going to turn that around to all of you guys here today and say, are you going to do the best you can do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are you? Are you going to do the best you can do? I hope so, because there's 22-year-olds all over this country that are starting to have symptoms right now. Most of it's still reversible. But if we don't act, if we don't speak out, if we don't say, hey, call bullshit when it's bullshit. Because I promise you, if you're the first person to ever call out your local doctor and say, that's bullshit, don't listen to him in public, ooh. But what if you're the second person? What if you're the 5th person or the 10th person or the 20th person? Guess what that doctor's going to get tired of pretty quick. And you can't sue everybody for slander. But if it's true, it ain't slander. Right? But when enough people have called out these doctors publicly on Twitter, call them out. That's bullshit. Why aren't you saying that? Call them out on Facebook. Call them out on Instagram, TikTok, Clapper, wherever. At church. Call them out. What would happen if you went up to your doctor who you go to church with and say, you know, doc, all those medicines you had me taking for type 2 diabetes and you kept recommending that plant-based diet, I stopped doing all that ignorant shit and I started eating keto and I reversed it. Out loud in front of about 10 other people at church. Woo! The pucker factor. And the first time that happens to that doctor, he's going to be furious at you for doing that to him in public. Should we be doing that type of stuff in public? Are those kids' lives worth it? I don't know. That's a question only you can answer in your heart, in private. But I think it is. I think it's time to stop being so polite. And remember that doctors are just dudes and chicks. That all they sometimes need is just like Beckett. They need a little negative reinforcement. And you say enough times to that doctor at church, you know, you really ought to catch up on your reading because type 2 diabetes is completely reversible with a very low carbohydrate diet. You say that enough time, guess what that doctor's going to do? He's going to go home and pull up the Google machine and say, what the hell is this keto diet bullshit about? I'm sick of hearing it. And that doctor's going to learn. Because doctors used to be good students. That's how they got through med school. Right? They're still capable, but you're going to have to hold their feet to the fire a little bit. You're going to have to keep calling them out and start respectfully. But then if it's not working, obviously, just like Beckett, I start out real sweet and nice, and we progress, right? It accelerates, right? We build and build, and finally I whoop his ass and he goes to bed, and that's fine. But hopefully it won't come to that with the doctors. Hopefully when we call them out respectfully, they'll say, let me look into this. Because a plant-based diet, all the research on diabetes and vegan diet, they're always promoting it. But when you look at the studies, guess what a vegan diet never does? Reverses type 2 diabetes. Now, it'll lower your A1C if you're living on the ding-dongs and Pepsi and Cheetos, and you switch to a whole food plant-based diet. It will reverse your A1C. Yes, and you'll feel better because you stop eating the toxic chemical soup of the ultra processed, right? You'll feel better for a while, but it's never going to reverse type 2 diabetes, ever. There's only one way of eating that does that, and that's a proper human diet. But people have got to hear this. If y'all hadn't heard that, you wouldn't be here. But now you are here. And now it's time, regardless of what you do for a living, regardless of your IQ, regardless of your skin color or your creed, I do not care about any of that. If you are a human being, you should eat a proper human diet. And if your friends and family members are human, they deserve to know about a proper human diet. And it's my job to run my mouth, which I do, but it's also your job too. And that's all I've got to say about that.